I consider myself a journalist, but one of my few privileges is that I don't have to engage in politics.
Yeah.
And it is a privilege because I see people just lose their mind. In this culture war. And it's like, I mean, I don't know anything about most of these issues. And I'm like, I have expertise in like one thing. And like, and I do have an expertise in it, but it's like, but I think now if you're a journalist and you're sort of on the, if you politically align yourself, now you're expected to have a position on everything.
Yes.
Even if you have no idea what you're talking about, well, then you're expected to take the part, whatever the party line is, you're expected to take it, even if you haven't considered it. That's what happens. And I've seen sort of people in the media become like co-opted by their audience where then they have to have these opinions.
Yes.
And so I feel lucky because I feel like there is no like mainstream thought in like scams. I'm just like, let me interview a few victims and like they'll tell the story and that's great. And I kind of stay away from that. So, I mean, for me, that's where I always go back to is I'm just like, I don't know.
That's a very good position because I've fallen into that. I haven't fallen into audience capture, but I have fallen into the ideological game where if you're in one camp, you're supposed to have all the opinions that one camp has.
Yeah.
And if you do not align with all the opinions that one camp has, you find yourself cast out of the group. And I thought initially, wrongly, that what the internet was going to do was provide people with so much data and so much information that we would lose camps and that people would instead have a more open-minded and centrist view of things and say, well, I could understand why people would think this because of that, and I can understand why, and we would have like more of a collective idea. But what I didn't anticipate was social media and the echo chambers that it would provide.
Right.
And that these ideological echo chambers also come with virtue signaling, and that people get on these things because you're only dealing with a short amount of characters, and you state something that you know is going to get a bunch of likes, and people are very addicted to likes. And there was some talk about like removing likes because they realized that likes were an issue, and then people freaked out, just like those people freaked out about taking away your fucking chatbot girlfriend, and they stopped doing that. They stopped that idea, but if you didn't know whether or not people agree with you or disagree with you, I think that'd probably be better overall for people, because I think that whether or not people agree with you or disagree with you is important, but you don't know those people. It's important if you know the people and you respect them and appreciate them, and that used to be the world.
Yeah.
The world used to be, I go to CoffeeZilla and I go, hey man, what do you think about this Ukraine thing? And then I know you and I know like that you're honest, and so I talk to you and you say, well, this is what I've read,
right,
and this is what I think, and then I go, oh, that's interesting because I thought this, and you go, yeah, I thought that too, but then I found out that, and you go, oh, okay, and you get sort of a more informed, neutral position on what things are. I don't think people are getting that. I think there was a funny meme that came out right when the war started that was like the instantaneous change from people going from being healthcare experts to foreign policy experts.
Oh, it's hilarious.
It's very funny because that's what people do. They find out what is the new thing that I can say that's going to get me likes. Let me throw that Ukraine flag up in my Twitter bio alongside my gender pronouns and get after it. And let's get some likes.
And now everyone's AI experts too. Now they used to be crypto experts, and now it's like everyone's AI expert. Yeah, it's the classic. It's like everyone's always current affair experts. It's a weird thing how social media, like, it's an echo chamber, but it's a weird kind of echo chamber because it's not just what you think. So if that were the case, that would kind of be obvious. But it's also like you're shown the other side, but the most incendiary, insane side of the other side's views. Yeah. Almost to the point it's like caricatures. If you follow, so if let's say you're a right winger, like, okay, the most insane people on the left are going to get the most likes from me because my camp's going to love it. They're going to eat it up because they're going to look as insane as possible. So you make them look insane. The left-wing people, they go, okay, let's select for the most insane right-wing person and we'll put him out there. And so they both put out like these like sort of extreme views of the other side to their audience.
Right.
And then if you're in that echo chamber, you go like, wow, those guys are literally insane. I mean, because you think that's what the other team is just like agreeing with, like, yeah, this is normal. And meanwhile, the other team would be like, yeah, that's a little crazy, but like, we actually think this. We have a more moderate position on whatever. So, you know, what I usually find is when you actually deal with individuals instead of like labels and ideologies, what you usually find is people are pretty normal, but, you know, a lot of people have been caught up in this battle, and it's like a reaction to the reaction to the reaction.
Yep. Where,
you know, you go from like, okay, it was the mainstream media, then it was like independent media, and then I find that, like, you know, and I'm in independent media, and so I understand the temptation as much as anybody to like dunk on mainstream media, because it's like, it's easy, it's like great, it's like you get
right,
you know, and they are wrong so often. Yeah. But then the mainstream media gets pissed off and they're like, hey, look, you independent media, all you do is spend your time complaining about us. What are you actually doing in terms of news gather? Are you on the ground? What are you doing? Sometimes they are. But, you know, I think the news, it's all just kind of decentralizing into a lot of different camps. And there's good people everywhere and there's bad people everywhere. There's great journalists, you know, who are trying to make a difference in bureaucracies at MSNBC or wherever. There's great people, there's great regulators trying to make a difference, but everyone's dealing with their own incentive problems and their own challenges with bias and their own echo chambers, that they make mistakes, and then when they make mistakes, the other team just goes like,
yeah, there's that, and then there's also financial incentives.
Yeah.
It's financial incentives that...
Huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, when you get motivated by whoever is your sponsor, whoever is the advertising revenue provider for whatever show you have, and that becomes a gigantic issue. When you see a mandate that gets pushed through, and when you see people clearly moving in lockstep all together, like a coordinated effort to discredit someone or to go after some topic, or to give a very biased and distorted version of something that clearly benefits the advertisers, it gets very sketchy. And for the mainstream people to say, like, what do you do? All you do is criticize us. Well, that's a very valuable role, guys. Like, that's a very valuable role, because you people are fucked. Like, you're not Walter Cronkite. This is not the New York Times of 1970. This is a completely different animal. And it's an ideologically captured animal. And then you have mainstream television, which is almost bullshit. It's almost like you could just say CNN is bullshit. Fox News is bullshit.